On the morning of February 28, 2026, just hours after the United States and Israel launched large-scale military operations against Iran, a primary school in the city of Minab was struck. Within seconds, what had been a place of learning was reduced to devastation. Dozens of children, teachers, and staff were killed. Many more were injured. This was not just an attack. It was a moment that forced a fundamental question. What remains of international humanitarian law when those most protected children become its victims? The strike hit the Shajareh Tayyebeh girls' primary school, where students aged between 7 and 12 had just begun their school day. The weapon used, a Tomahawk cruise missile, carried an explosive force capable of leveling structures within seconds. The result was catastrophic. 168 civilians killed, including children and teachers, and nearly 100 injured. Eyewitness accounts describe a scene beyond comprehension. Smoke, darkness, silence. And then the realization that entire classrooms had vanished. Some victims could only be identified through fragments of personal belongings, names written on school books, scattered among the debris. Despite claims that a military facility existed nearby, independent analyses and satellite imagery indicate that the school was a clearly identifiable civilian structure, physically separated, visibly marked, and actively in use as an educational facility at the time of the strike. Under international humanitarian law, this distinction is critical. The principle of distinction requires that parties to a conflict differentiate at all times between military objectives and civilian objects. Schools, by their very nature, are protected. Even in cases of uncertainty, the principle of proportionality applies. Any anticipated military advantage must never outweigh the foreseeable harm to civilians. Yet here, the scale of civilian casualties, particularly children, raises serious concerns that both principles may have been violated. Further investigations suggest another troubling dimension: the possibility that outdated or inaccurate intelligence data contributed to the targeting decision. Reports indicate that the site may have been misidentified based on obsolete information, failing to reflect its current use as an active school. If confirmed, this would point not only to a tragic error, but to a failure in the obligation of precaution, a cornerstone of lawful military conduct. The international response was swift. Human rights organizations, UN experts, and even US senators called for independent investigations, accountability, and transparency. Some described the strike as potentially constituting a war crime. And yet, despite these calls, a deeper pattern emerges, one that extends beyond a single incident. From conflict to conflict, from region to region, the same question persists. When the laws of war fail to protect the most vulnerable, are they still functioning as law or merely as principle? Because in Minab, what was lost was not only lives, but the very idea that classrooms are safe from war.